Episode 3, How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking, covers Chapters 10 to 21, Chapter 10. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. No one really wins an argument. Even if you prove your point and the other person admits they were wrong, they may feel embarrassed, defensive, or hurt. Carnegie says, "You may win the argument, but you lose the person." That's why he encourages us to avoid arguments altogether. When people feel attacked, they don't open up, they shut down. Their ego gets in the way, and no logic can reach them. Arguments create walls, not bridges. You may prove you're right, but at what cost? In relationships, in business, and in leadership, winning isn't about scoring points, it's about preserving connection. Avoiding arguments doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means choosing a better path, one that allows for empathy, curiosity, and gentle persuasion instead of direct conflict. When disagreement arises, you can say things like, "Let me think about that," or "You might be right," to keep the tone open and non-combative. This approach preserves dignity and makes future dialogue possible. Book. Example 1. The Sales Dispute. A Carnegie student was trying to sell machinery. A client argued that the machine wouldn't work in his environment. Instead of arguing back, the student said, "You could be right. Let's test it." They tested it, and it worked. The client was impressed, not because the salesman argued, but because he let the truth speak for itself without ego. Book Example 2. The Professor and the Taxi Driver. Carnegie tells of a professor who argued with a taxi driver about the best route. The professor insisted on taking a longer route and paid more just to prove a point. But was it worth it? He won the argument but lost time and money. A more relaxed approach could have built rapport with the driver and maybe even saved money. Book. Example 3. Carnegie and the Dog Owner. At a park, Carnegie saw a man training his dog harshly. Instead of criticizing him, Carnegie asked, "How long have you had your dog?" And, "He seems like a strong one." By starting with friendliness, he opened up a better path. The man relaxed and became more receptive. Role-play style example. Imagine, you are in a meeting, and someone says, "That's a terrible idea." You want to defend yourself, but instead, you take a breath and say, "Interesting point. Can you walk me through how you see it?" Now, instead of fighting, you've started a conversation. The other person feels heard. Tension dissolves. That's how you win without fighting. Chapter summary. Arguments make people defensive. Even when you win, you may lose trust. Avoid the fight. Choose kindness, curiosity, and calm. Let people feel respected and give them space to discover the truth themselves. Chapter 11. Show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say, "You're wrong." Telling someone, "You're wrong," is like pressing a red button in their brain. Their defense system turns on. Even if they are wrong, they will try to justify themselves and they won't hear you anymore. Carnegie teaches that respect matters more than being correct. If you want people to change their minds, don't shame them, invite them into a better view. A better approach is to say things like, "That's interesting, I used to think the same," or "I can see how that makes sense from your side." This doesn't mean you have to agree, it just means you respect their right to think and feel. People change when they feel safe, not when they feel cornered. Book Example 1. The Argument on Napoleon. Carnegie once got into an argument at a dinner party over a historical fact about Napoleon. He insisted he was right. Later, he realized he had embarrassed the other man and gained nothing. He learned that facts don't matter if feelings are hurt. Book Example 2. The Customer Complaint. A Carnegie student dealt with an angry customer who believed he received the wrong product. The student replied, "I understand your concern and it's possible there was an error. Let's look into it together." The customer calmed down instantly because he wasn't made to feel stupid. Book. Example 3. The school teacher avoided saying "you're wrong" when a student gave an incorrect answer. Instead, she said, "You're very close. Let's try a different way of thinking about it." The student felt encouraged, not embarrassed, and kept participating. Role-play style example. You're in a conversation and someone says, "I think social media is bad for society." You disagree. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you say, "That's an interesting take. What experiences led you to feel that way?" Now you're showing respect. You're learning. And maybe, just maybe, they'll listen to your perspective too. Chapter summary. Telling people they're wrong triggers resistance. Show respect. Invite understanding. And when you do, you open the door for real conversation. Chapter 12. If you are wrong, admit it, quickly and emphatically. When you make a mistake, your natural instinct might be to defend, hide, or minimize it. But Dale Carnegie teaches the opposite. He says the fastest way to disarm criticism and build trust is to admit your mistake first, and do it clearly. Most people expect you to dodge blame. When you say, "I was wrong," or "That's on me," they are surprised. Walls drop. Defensiveness fades. The situation softens. Admitting fault quickly shows strength, not weakness. It says, "I care more about what's right than about being right." It earns respect because it shows humility and self-awareness. And the key word here is quickly. Don't let the guilt grow. Don't wait until someone else calls it out. If you spot it, own it. If someone points it out, thank them and agree. Then move forward with clarity and confidence. Book. Example 1. The police ticket Carnegie was pulled over for speeding. Before the officer could speak, Carnegie said, "Officer, I was speeding. I'm at fault. I know better." The officer was so surprised by his honesty, he let him go with a warning. Book Example 2. The Employee. Mistake: a Carnegie student made a serious error at work. Instead of making excuses, he called his manager and said, "I messed up, and I want to fix it." His manager said, "You're the first person to ever admit a mistake to me that way," and helped him solve it together. Book Example 3. The friends broken trust. One man forgot a friend's birthday after promising to remember it. He called and said, "I feel awful. I forgot something important to you. You matter more than that." His friend forgave him right away because the apology came from the heart, not obligation. Role-play style. Example: imagine you accidentally double-booked a meeting and missed your coworker's presentation. You could say, "Sorry, I was busy," or you could say, "I completely forgot your presentation and that was wrong of me. You deserved better." The second one repairs trust, it's honest, and it brings people closer. Chapter summary. If you're wrong, don't deny, delay, or defend. Own it fast and own it fully. People respect honesty, and they'll forgive mistakes faster than they'll forgive excuses. Chapter 13. Begin in a friendly way. How you start a conversation sets the tone for everything that follows. When you begin with tension, the other person tightens. When you begin with friendliness, their guard drops. Carnegie says that even when you're upset, even when you're right, even when things feel urgent, start with warmth, a smile, a soft voice, a kind word. Because friendliness is disarming. This works especially in conflict. If you need to complain, start with appreciation. If you disagree, start with agreement. That way, instead of a battle, you begin a bridge. It doesn't mean you avoid hard truths. It means you deliver them with emotional intelligence. Book example 1. The tax office. Carnegie once had to negotiate with a tax clerk. Instead of arriving angry, he smiled and said, "You're probably tired of people arguing all day." The clerk smiled back and listened more openly. They reached an agreement faster. Book example 2. The sales call. A Carnegie student wanted to collect a late payment. Instead of being aggressive, she began with, "I know times have been challenging lately. I appreciate how you've been working to keep things going. The customer felt seen, not attacked, and offered a plan to pay. Book. Example 3. The parent conversation. A father needed to talk to his son about poor grades. Instead of scolding him, he said, "I know you're smart, and I know school can be boring sometimes. Can we talk about what's really going on?" His son opened up, and they found a solution together. Role play style. Example you need to give. Someone feedback on a messy workspace. You could say, "This place is a disaster." Or you could say, "I know you've been juggling a lot. Want to come up with a way to keep things a bit more organized together?" The second way invites teamwork. The first one invites tension. Chapter summary. Begin every interaction with kindness, especially the hard ones. A warm opening softens even the hardest hearts and clears the path for real communication. Chapter 14. Get the other person saying yes. Yes. Immediately when someone says no, it creates resistance. Their mind shuts down. But when someone starts saying yes, even to small things, their energy opens up. They're more likely to continue agreeing. Carnegie calls this the yes-yes technique. The idea is to begin conversations with points the other person already agrees with, to build momentum. This technique works because we love consistency. When we start saying yes, we feel comfortable continuing in that direction. It's not about manipulation. It's about creating shared ground early so that bigger ideas are more welcomed later. Book example 1. The Water Filter. Dale Carnegie. Student sold water filters. He started his pitch with, "Do you care about your family's health? And would you prefer cleaner water if it were affordable?" The customer said yes to both. When he presented the filter, the customer was already halfway on board. Book. Example 2. The legal argument. A lawyer won a difficult case by starting his opening argument with facts both sides agreed on. The jury nodded along. By the time he made his real point, they were already in agreement mode. Book example 3. The customer support case. A frustrated customer was yelling about a delivery. The support agent said, "You expected your item on time, and it didn't arrive. That's frustrating, right?" The customer said yes. The agent kept agreeing, and soon the anger faded, and a solution was found. Role-play style example. You're negotiating a raise. You start with, "We both care about the company's growth, right?" Your boss nods. You continue, "And we both want motivated employees doing their best work, right?" Another yes. Now you say, "I'd love to talk about how my performance might reflect in my compensation." It's no longer a confrontation, it's collaboration. Chapter summary. Start with agreement. Create a rhythm of yes before the heavy stuff. When people feel aligned, they listen better, they open up, and they're more likely to say yes again. Chapter 15. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Most people don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. They wait for their turn to speak, or worse, they dominate the conversation entirely. But Dale Carnegie teaches the opposite. If you want someone to be open to your ideas, the best thing you can do is let them talk. Let them share their experiences, their opinions, their frustrations, their dreams. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. When you give people space to speak, 3 powerful things happen. First, they feel respected, which builds trust. Second, they often convince themselves of what you hope to persuade them of. And third, they tell you exactly how to reach them if you're paying attention. This principle is crucial in business, in marriage, in sales, and even in conflict. Instead of rushing to give advice or state your case, try saying, "Tell me more," or "What do you think is the best way forward?" You'll be surprised how often people walk themselves into a new solution, or your point of view, without you having to say much at all. Book example 1. The Angry Customer. A Carnegie student worked in customer service. An upset customer called and began yelling about a mistake. Instead of interrupting, the student let the customer talk for almost 10 minutes. At the end, the customer said, "Thank you for letting me say that. You're the first person who's actually listened." The tone changed, and the solution came easily. Book example 2, The Sales Opportunity. Another student was pitching a new product, but stopped mid-presentation and said, "Before I go on, I'd love to hear what matters most to your company." The client talked for 30 minutes. At the end, the client said, "I think we're ready to move forward," before the student even finished their pitch. Book example 3, Carnegie's own meeting. Carnegie shared how he once let a potential partner talk about his business for almost an hour. Carnegie barely said a thing. The man later said, "You're a great guy. I'd love to work with you." Why? Because Carnegie listened. That was all it took. Role-play style example. You're in a team meeting. Someone says, "I think we should change the design strategy." Instead of jumping in to disagree, you say, "I'm curious. What led you to that idea?" They speak, and as they talk, they soften. Maybe they realize the flaw in the plan themselves, or maybe they offer something valuable you didn't see. Either way, letting them talk gets you further than dominating the discussion. Chapter summary. People want to feel heard. They want to be understood. When you listen more and talk less, you gain insight, trust, and influence. Let others express themselves, and they will be more open to hearing you. Chapter 16. Let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. People are far more likely to embrace an idea when they feel it came from themselves, not from someone else, trying to convince them. Carnegie understood that when people feel ownership of an idea, they become emotionally invested in it. They defend it, build on it, and follow through with it more passionately. If you force your ideas on people, they often resist even if the idea is good, but if you guide them to discover the idea themselves, or let them feel like they were part of creating it, they become your ally, not your opponent. You can do this by asking questions instead of giving instructions, by offering choices rather than commands, or by saying, "What do you think about this approach?" instead of, "Here's what you need to do." When people feel like it was their idea, their enthusiasm is real, not forced. Book example 1. The Plant Manager. A Carnegie student needed to improve production. Instead of telling the team what to do, he asked them, "How do you think we could reduce waste and speed things up?" The team brainstormed and came up with the same ideas he had planned, but now they owned it and were eager to implement. Book example 2. The Sales Approach. A student in sales would let customers talk about their needs, then gently ask, "Would a solution like this work for you?" Instead of pushing a product, he led them to discover the benefit themselves. They bought more because they felt in control. Book example 3. Carnegie and his niece. Carnegie wanted his niece to practice piano. Instead of commanding her, he said, "I bet your grandma would love to hear you play her favorite song. What would you like to play for her next time?" She chose the song, practiced it joyfully, and played it proudly, because it felt like her choice. Role-play style. Example. You're leading a project. Instead of saying, "We need to do this differently," try, "What do you think would make this process easier?" Your team suggests what you already had in mind, but now they feel proud of the direction. You didn't tell them, you inspired them. Summary: don't push your ideas. Guide others to reach the conclusion themselves. When they own the idea, they'll act with confidence and commitment. Chapter 17. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. When someone disagrees with you, your natural instinct might be to defend your position, argue, or prove your point. But Carnegie offers a wiser path. He says, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. This principle doesn't mean you have to agree. It means you take time to understand how they see the world, how they feel, and what they need. Most conflict comes from misunderstanding, not malice. When you slow down and ask, how might this look from their side? You unlock empathy, and empathy opens hearts. It's easy to believe our way is the right way, but everyone lives with a different lens. When you try to understand their perspective, without judgment or impatience, people feel heard, respected, and less defensive. That's when real dialogue begins. This approach is powerful in business, parenting, negotiation, and relationships. If someone feels like you understand them, they are more likely to listen to you in return. Book Example 1. The Insurance Case. A Carnegie student was negotiating with a client who didn't want to renew an insurance policy. Instead of pushing, he asked, "If I were in your position, I might hesitate too. May I ask what's holding you back?" The client explained his concerns, and after feeling understood, renewed the policy. Book Example 2. The Letter to a Stranger. Carnegie wrote a letter to someone who had rejected his request. Instead of demanding a change, he wrote, "If I were in your place, I would probably feel the same." That line disarmed the reader, who later reconsidered his position and agreed. Book Example 3. The Difficult Employee. A manager had an employee who constantly missed deadlines. Instead of calling him lazy, the manager asked, "Help me understand what's been challenging for you lately." The employee admitted he was overwhelmed at home. The manager reassigned some tasks, and the employee's performance improved. Role play style. Example: you're in an argument with your partner. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," you pause and say, "I imagine you feel like I don't understand what you've been going through." They look at you with surprise and soften. Suddenly it's not a battle. It's a moment of mutual care. Summary: you don't need to agree to understand. Empathy is seeing through the other person's eyes. When you do that, you connect deeply, disarm tension, and create space for collaboration and change. Chapter 18. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. When people share their ideas or feelings, especially when they're upset, many of us respond with logic, corrections, or solutions. But what they really want first is something much simpler: sympathy. Carnegie reminds us that people are not driven by logic alone. We are emotional beings. When someone is frustrated, afraid, disappointed, or proud, they want to feel understood, not fixed. Saying, "I understand how you feel," or "If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the same," can instantly calm anger, reduce stress, and create connection. Sympathy is not agreement. You don't have to think they're right. You just have to honor the fact that their feelings are real to them. Once they feel you care, they'll be more open to your ideas, advice, or guidance. This principle applies in every relationship, with customers, kids, coworkers, clients, and loved ones. Book Example 1. The Angry Father. A Carnegie student worked in a school and dealt with an angry father whose son was disciplined. Instead of defending the school's actions, the teacher said, "If I were in your place, I'd probably feel the same way." The father's anger immediately softened, and they found a solution together. Book Example 2. The Customer Complaint. Hotel manager received a furious complaint from a guest about a delayed room. Instead of blaming staff or defending, she said, "I understand your frustration. You expected a smooth check-in and we failed you. I'd feel the same." The guest went from angry to grateful because he felt acknowledged. Book Example 3. Carnegie at a lecture. A student challenged Carnegie at a lecture. Instead of arguing, Carnegie said, "That's a fair point. I can see how it might look that way." The student relaxed and they had a real conversation, not a debate. Role-play style example. Your friend is upset because they didn't get a promotion. You feel like they didn't prepare enough, but instead of saying that, you begin with, "I know how much you wanted this. I'd be disappointed too." That's sympathy. Later you can offer insight. but only after the emotional door is open. Summary: begin with sympathy. Let people feel seen and heard. It softens defenses and creates a bridge. When someone feels like you're on their side emotionally, they're far more likely to walk with you intellectually. Chapter 19. Appeal to the nobler motives. People want to feel that their actions are guided by good intentions. We all like to see ourselves as kind, fair, responsible, and honest. Carnegie teaches that when you appeal to someone's higher values, their desire to be seen as honorable, you can inspire them to do better without making them feel guilty or ashamed. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," try saying, "I know you value fairness, so I thought you'd want to hear this." Instead of accusing, remind them of who they aspire to be. People will often rise to the occasion when their better nature is acknowledged. This approach is especially powerful when asking for difficult changes or holding people accountable. Speak to the best in them, and they're more likely to live up to it. Book Example 1: The Lost Purse. A woman lost her purse in a store. The manager found it and returned it. When she praised him, he replied, "I always try to be honest. It's how I was raised." Her appreciation had affirmed his deeper motive, integrity, and that made him proud. Book Example 2: The Employee Dilemma. A Carnegie student asked an employee to stop gossiping, not by shaming but by saying, "I know you care about harmony. Here, that's why I think you'll understand how that kind of talk affects the team." The employee apologized and changed. Book Example 3: The Bill Dispute. A man disputed a bill with a company. The company rep said, "I know you're someone who values fairness. Let's take a look together to make sure this is accurate." The tone changed instantly because the rep appealed to his sense of justice. Role-play style example. You're dealing with a coworker who hasn't been contributing. Instead of saying, "You're not doing your part," try, "You've always been someone who brings value to the team. I was surprised this time. Is everything okay?" That reminds them of who they are and who they want to be. Summary: speak to the nobler side of people. Remind them of their values. When you show that you believe in their goodness, they are more likely to live up to it. Chapter 21. Throw down a challenge. People are driven by competition, pride, and the desire to prove themselves. When used wisely, a challenge can bring out their best. Carnegie suggests that instead of demanding improvement, you inspire it by turning it into a game, a personal goal, or a friendly competition. When people feel like their skills are being tested in a meaningful way, they engage, they rise, they push further. This works especially well with high performers, independent thinkers, and even children. Everyone loves the feeling of progress and achievement. The key is to make the challenge motivating, not shaming. It should feel exciting, not stressful. Book Example 1: The Steel Mill. Charles Schwab once challenged two teams at a mill to beat each other's output. Without yelling, without punishing. They became energized. Productivity skyrocketed. Why? Because it was a challenge, and humans love a challenge. Book Example 2: The Sales Contest. A Carnegie student boosted sales by setting a fun challenge. Whoever hit the weekly target first got lunch paid for. People laughed, competed, and worked harder, because it felt like a game, not pressure. Book Example 3: The Child and Homework. A parent challenged a child to finish homework before dinner so they could have a race afterward. It became a ritual. The child did better in school because the challenge made it fun. Role-play style example. You want your team to adopt a new software. Instead of saying, "You have to learn this," say, "Let's see who can master it fastest. I'll buy coffee for the winner." People laugh, but they also get to work. Summary: people respond to purpose, pride, and play. Give them a challenge they care about. Inspire them to prove something, and they'll surprise you. You've now learned 6 more powerful ways to influence people without pressure, conflict, or force. In this video, we covered: let others feel the idea is theirs, see things from their point of view, be sympathetic, appeal to nobler motives, dramatize your ideas, and throw down a challenge. These are not tricks. They're tools for human connection. When you use them sincerely, people trust you more, follow you more, and open up to better collaboration. If this helped you, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me which principle in this video hit you the hardest. In our next video, we'll cover the final section of the book, How to Be a Leader and Change People Without Causing Resentment. See you there. Chapter 22. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. When you start with praise, you create an emotional cushion. You tell someone, "I see the good in you," before asking for change. This doesn't just soften criticism, it increases receptiveness. Carnegie says people crave appreciation like they crave oxygen. So, before pointing out a flaw, highlight something they're doing well. This isn't about sugarcoating. It's about starting from a place of mutual respect. When people feel seen and valued, they're more willing to improve. You're not just correcting, you're uplifting. Book Example 1. The Piano Student. A teacher began each lesson by pointing out something the student had improved on before giving feedback. The student stayed motivated because they felt encouraged, not criticized. Book Example 2. The Factory Supervisor. Instead of scolding a worker for a mistake, a supervisor first praised their reliability. Then he gently said, "There's one area I think we can improve together." Book Example 3. The Letter to the Maid. Carnegie wrote a letter to his maid, beginning with praise for her work, before gently suggesting how to avoid breaking fragile items. The maid read it with a smile. Role-play style example. You're managing someone who's been late to meetings. Instead of saying, "You're always late," you say, "You've been really sharp on our reports lately. Can we also figure out a way to get things started right on time?" They feel appreciated, not attacked. Summary: begin with genuine praise. It creates connection, boosts confidence, and makes people more open to your suggestions. Chapter 23. Call attention to people's mistakes. Indirectly. When you call out someone's mistake directly, especially in front of others, it can cause embarrassment or resentment. Carnegie advises a gentler way. Use indirect language. Share a story, ask a question, or use humor. This preserves dignity and helps people correct behavior without defensiveness. Subtle correction is powerful because it shows emotional intelligence. It allows others to save face and still recognize the point. Book Example 1. The Printer's Error. Carnegie noticed a typo, but instead of saying, "You made a mistake," he asked, "Do you think this line reads clearly?" The printer saw the error and corrected it. Book Example 2. The Parent and Child. A father noticed his son's messy room. Instead of yelling, he asked, "How do you feel when your space is clean?" The child got the message and cleaned up. Book Example 3. The Boss's Comment. A boss said, "You usually get this perfect. I was surprised by this part." The employee felt trusted and corrected the issue immediately. Role-play style example. Your co-worker keeps interrupting. Instead of saying, "You talk too much," you ask, "Can we try something new in our meetings where we each get 2 minutes uninterrupted to share ideas?" It works without the sting. Summary: indirect correction protects pride. When people don't feel attacked, they're more likely to change without resentment. Chapter 24. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. No one likes to be judged, but when you admit your own faults first, people lower their defenses. You're not speaking from a pedestal, you're speaking as someone who's also learning. Carnegie advises saying things like, "I've struggled with this too," or "I used to make that mistake myself." This shifts the tone from blame to empathy. This principle is especially helpful with peers and subordinates. It creates a sense of equality and encourages change through example, not pressure. Book. Example 1. The executive example. An executive needed to correct a manager. He began by saying, "When I started here, I struggled with the same thing." The manager listened without resistance. Book. Example 2. The parenting approach. A mom saw her daughter being disrespectful. She said, "I used to talk back to Grandma too. I learned the hard way that it didn't help." The daughter smiled and nodded. Book Example 3. Carnegie's Public Speaking Error. Carnegie shared a time he failed at a speech before coaching another speaker. The person relaxed and absorbed the advice. Role-play style. Example. Your team member mishandles a client. Instead of blaming, you say, "Early in my career, I lost a big client because I spoke too quickly. Let's figure out how to avoid that for next time." Now they're learning, not defending. Summary. Lead with your own struggles. It makes you relatable. It opens hearts and minds to feedback. Chapter 25. Ask questions. Instead of giving direct orders, people are more likely to follow through when they feel like they chose the action. Carnegie teaches that instead of barking orders, you should ask questions. It turns a command into collaboration. Instead of saying, "Do this," try, "What's the best way to handle this?" It invites responsibility and gives people a sense of ownership. This method reduces resistance and creates mutual respect. It's not weakness, it's leadership by inclusion. Book. Example 1. The factory setup. A supervisor needed machines cleaned. He asked, "How do you think we can keep these in top shape?" The workers suggested the same plan he had in mind and implemented it proudly. Book. Example 2. The parent at homework time. A dad said, "How do you want to schedule your homework so we can still have playtime after?" The child chose a smart plan and stuck to it. Book Example 3. The chef and the assistant. Instead of ordering changes, a chef asked his assistant, "Do you think the sauce could use more seasoning?" The assistant tasted it and nodded. Role play. Style example. You want your colleague to update the spreadsheet. Instead of, "Please fix this," try, "Do you think this column could be clearer for our team?" Now they feel smart, not scolded. Summary. Questions. Invite action. They turn obedience into ownership. People don't feel bossed. They feel trusted. Chapter 26. Let the other person save face people. Fear humiliation more than failure. If you expose someone's mistake publicly or harshly, you damage more than their ego. You damage the relationship. Carnegie teaches us to help people preserve dignity. If they made a mistake, address it privately. Use soft language. Focus on the future, not the shame. Everyone has pride. Protect it, and they will protect the bond. Book. Example 1. The office misprint. A secretary made a costly typo. The boss corrected it privately and said, "Everyone has off days. Let's fix it together." She felt safe and loyal. Book example 2. The waiter mix-up. A waiter brought the wrong order. The customer said, "No worries, I must have misspoken. Can I try the other one?" The waiter was relieved and grateful. Book example 3. The manager's kindness. A manager could have called out a mistake in a meeting. Instead, he waited, pulled the employee aside, and framed it as, "Let's work on this together next time." The respect deepened. Role-play style. Example. A teammate fumbles their presentation. Afterward you say, We all have days where the slides fight us. Let's smooth it out together next time. They feel understood, not embarrassed. Summary: help people keep their dignity. Correct gently. Protect their pride. It's not just kind, it's wise. Chapter 27. Praise the slightest improvement and praise. Every improvement, most people feel invisible. They try hard and hear nothing. That's why praise, even for small improvements, can fuel massive growth. Carnegie says when people are noticed, they blossom. Praise what they're doing right, and they'll want to do more of it. Celebrate effort, not just results. This builds motivation, confidence, and momentum. Book. Example 1. The Writing Student. A student struggled with grammar. The teacher praised his sentence structure, even though spelling was off. Encouraged, he kept writing. He improved steadily. Book. Example 2. The Janitor's Effort. A boss noticed the hallways smelled fresher. He said, "Whatever you're using, it's working." The janitor beamed and did even more. Book. Example 3. The Child Learning Math. A child got one problem right after failing many. The parent cheered. "That's it, you're figuring it out." The child tried harder and improved. Role-play style example. A colleague turns in better formatting than last week. You say, "Nice. I noticed how clean this version looks." That praise fuels even more care next time. Summary: praise isn't fluff, it's fuel. Notice small wins. Speak them. Watch people rise. Chapter 28. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. People live up to how they are seen. If you tell someone they're lazy, they might stay lazy. But if you say, "You're someone who delivers," they'll strive to prove you right. Carnegie calls this the power of reputation. Give people a role to play, the best version of themselves, and they will often rise to meet it. This works with employees, children, partners, and peers. Book. Example 1. The Disorganized Clerk. Instead of criticizing her, a manager said, "You've always struck me as someone who's thorough." She felt proud and improved her habits. Book. Example 2. The Teen's Identity. A mother told her son, "You're someone people look up to." He started acting more responsibly because the identity felt good. Book. Example 3. The New Intern. A supervisor said, "You seem like someone who catches on fast." The intern worked hard to live up to it, and did. Role-play style example. Your friend is often late. You say, "I've always admired how organized you are. You keep people on track." Next time they show up early. Summary: paint people in their best light. Give them a good name to protect. They'll often rise to protect it and exceed your expectations. Chapter 29. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. When someone struggles, don't say, "This is hard." Say, "You've got this. It just takes practice." Carnegie knew that encouragement turns fear into action. If you make a problem sound too big, people freeze. But if you break it down, give support, and say, "You're already halfway there," they keep going. This is the essence of coaching. See the potential. Speak hope. Offer the next small step. Book. Example 1. The Nervous Speaker. A man feared public speaking. His coach said, "You already have a great voice. Just talk like you would to a friend." He improved quickly. Book. Example 2. The New Employee. A worker made mistakes. The boss said, "That's normal. You're picking this up fast." The worker relaxed and learned faster. Book. Example 3. The Language Learner. A student struggled with English. The teacher said, "Your pronunciation is getting better every day." That belief fueled effort. Role-play style. Example, your child is learning to tie shoes. Instead of, "No, not like that," you say, "Almost there. Try one more loop." That little boost builds confidence. Summary, make it feel doable. Encourage effort. Turn failure into feedback. That's how people grow. Chapter 30. Make the other person happy about doing the thing. You suggest deep explanation of the principle. 7 minutes people want to feel good about their choices. If you present your idea as a favor or a demand, it feels like a chore. But if you present it in a way that benefits them, excites them, or honors their values, they'll be happy to do it. Carnegie reminds us, motivation rises when the task is connected to their desire, pride, or purpose. This requires empathy and creativity. Ask, what would make this feel rewarding for them? Book example 1, the volunteer role. Instead of begging someone to help, a Carnegie student said, "You'd be perfect for this. Everyone trusts your judgment." The person accepted joyfully. Book example 2, the child and the dishes. A parent said, "I need a strong helper for the dinner mission. Want to be my right hand tonight?" The child smiled and joined in. Book example 3, the employee and the overtime. A manager said, "You've always been the one I rely on in tight spots. Would you be open to helping us close this week strong?" The employee agreed. Role-play style example. You need your roommate to clean. Instead of, "Can you clean already?" you say, "I know you love a good playlist while cleaning. Want to team up and blast music while we get this place in shape?" They say yes, and enjoy it. Summary, make it appealing. Show the reward. Let them feel proud to say yes. When people feel good about helping, they help more often. You've now finished the final section of how to win friends and influence people. In this video, you learned how to lead with heart, give feedback that inspires change, and bring out the best in others. To recap, here are the 9 principles. Begin with honest praise, correct indirectly, admit your own mistakes, ask instead of ordering. Let them save face, praise improvements, give them a fine reputation, use encouragement, and make suggestions feel good to follow. These principles don't just make you a better leader, they make you a better human. If you enjoyed this series, like and subscribe, and comment below. Which leadership principle will you start using today? Thank you for learning with me. This is just the beginning of becoming someone who influences with kindness, leads with compassion, and wins friends by lifting others up.